The thing I noticed about the show Blackish during its tenure was its willingness and boldness on behalf of the creator, Kenya Barris, to address serious issues in regards to the black community. And one of those issues many of us know about is police brutality. Now, we know that the show Blackish is currently no longer airing on television outside of reruns, but I want to go ahead and take this opportunity to dive into this particular scene from this episode that was aired a number of years ago because it gave insight to how not just the family in this show, but how many of us within the urban cities and the inner cities feel about police brutality as well. And also, during this episode right here, there was some dialogue in regards to the children and how they were told how you're supposed to operate when you're in the presence of police officers or law enforcement, and how to do so without ending up on the wrong side. So I wanted to go ahead and delve into this right now, give my commentary as usual, and also pay close attention to how the character of Dre, played by Anthony Anderson, gives his perspective on this issue, and how, for the most part, it pretty much um, hits close to home with him, and I'm gonna explain why. So, without further ado, let's get it.
Shh. The lawyer speaking.
It's important in the midst of all the public vilifying of the police department, whose members acted completely within procedure, to remember Mr. McQuillan was no angel.
What?
What does that mean?
Why would they even say that? What does that even mean?
On a side note, the name McQuillan, for those who know, who may not know, is an Irish name. And for those of us who already, know history well enough, know that not only are there those of our people who are the descendants of the blacks of the diaspora, there are also, from what I've heard, a large number of our people that are actually the descendants of blacks who came here to America from Europe when we ruled during the Dark Ages for 1,000+ years with an iron fist under empires such as the Byzantine Empire and the Angevin Empire, amongst others. And we ruled all throughout Europe, including places like Ireland, Scotland, and France. And those three places in particular were ruled over by a black man named King James. The very same King James who we see in regards to the King James 1611 Bible. And that's right. That's who King James really was. He wasn't a Caucasian man who was a homosexual and who had sex with his own mother. Now that's a bold-faced lie right there, right? Total BS. So don't believe any of that. And I just wanted to just go ahead and just drop that little golden nugget, that particular gem.
About somebody's child. That could easily be one of these children here.
That could have been one of us.
No,
Yes.
sweetie, no. Because if you get stopped by the cops, you are going to do exactly what they say, okay?
She's right. Listen to me. If you have to talk to the cops, there's only 7 words you need to know. Yes, sir. No, sir. And thank you, sir.
Exactly. You make sure you live to fight your case in court. You hear me?
Oh, mama!
Well, first off, that's some, sound advice in regards to how to interact if or when you come into contact with the police. So that way you make sure you have the conversation go as quickly as possible, short and sweet. All right. So that way, in case anything happens where you feel like you're mistreated by the cops, you can get hold of their information in regards to their, maybe whether it be their badge number, their card number. You can take it to court. All right. And also another thing to want to drop too is that we hear many times in the media when things like this happen that a lot of that these black individuals who are gunned down by the police or even taken into custody by the police, that they were victims, all right, or or what you say, heroes. All right, within amongst our people, or another word, sympathetic heroes, sympathetic figures. That's a better term to use. A better term to use. Well, there are definitely some of those individuals that we know about who were definitely did wrong by the police. Like for example, Philando Castile and Alton Sterling, but particularly the Castile case. That was real police brutality when it comes to that brother, because as we know, he was pulled over by the cops. He had his girlfriend with him at the time and his daughter in the backseat of the car. And despite the fact that the brother had a legal firearm on him, he told the police officer he was going into his pocket and to pull out his license. But despite that, the cops blew his brains out anyway. All right. So that case, plus other cases of blacks who were following protocol, but still ended up, dead in regards to those interactions. Yeah, that's real police brutality that oftentimes do need to be addressed. But these other cases here, where you have those of our people who were resisting arrest, not complying with the police, and getting into physical altercations with them, even if they're unarmed. Like, for example, Mike Brown in Ferguson. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, but cases like that, then they shouldn't be painted as sympathetic figures in that regard. Now, am I saying that they deserve to go out in the way that they did? No, not necessarily at all. But again, when you decided upon yourself that you're going to pretty much go toe to toe with the police, um, for the most part, you're fighting a losing battle. And for the most part, it can take you either to the jail cell or the grave. So you have to choose. So you have to, choose wisely. You have to walk with wisdom when it comes to dealing with people like that. So now, with both their perspectives given, the grandmother and the mother, one more thing to point out too. Even though with the mother, she gave sound advice, and the grandmother here, Ruby, played by Jennifer Lewis, you couldn't help but see her point out um, that hand sign that some people call the monocunuto hand sign, or the devil horn hand sign, that you see from numerous celebrities. So it just goes to show you what she had to do. Speaking of Jennifer Lewis, what she had to do behind the scenes, behind closed doors, to get to where she's at today. So it's nothing new. But aside from that, you know, for the sake of this clip right here, again, sound advice, good wisdom. But now we're going to hear from Dre and see how he responds to this incident.
Enough!
Wake up!
Let's say they listen to the cops and get in the car. Look what happened to Freddie Gray.
Yeah, and what if they make it all the way to the station?
Mm-hmm.
You remember Sandra Bland?
And let's say they do make.
Now that's a very good point right there by the character Pops, played by Lawrence Fishburne, especially in regards to those two names he dropped, Freddie Gray and Sandra Bland. Because now in Freddie Gray's case, the brother had, unfortunately, the brother had a record on him, a personal rap sheet. And in his initial confrontation with the police, the brother had a knife on him. So that was definitely not a good look in regards to that interaction, that incident. And when he was taken into police custody, things got worse for him because he sustained a spinal injury, which caused him to go into a coma. And then a week later, he died in the hospital and didn't even have a chance to have his case heard in court, or let alone to speak for himself, or to give his own perspective, his own story in regards to his case. Now, for Sandra Bland, well, for her it was worse because at first, initially, she filmed the whole incident in regards to the police officer that pulled her over. And then, of course, when she was taken to jail, she committed suicide. So, for what? And allegedly, there were cases or rumors of her having epilepsy. It probably, could have played a part in it. How true that is, I don't really know. But again, that was another sad state of affairs in regards to those two individuals who are both gone now, both in the spiritual world. So this is why it's very important, man, to um, walk. You have to be wise, and you have to know what to say, what not to say, what to do, and what not to do when it comes to interacting with law enforcement. It's of the utmost importance.
Make it to trial. You see where that gets us? Don't you get it, Bo? The system is rigged against us.
Maybe it is, Dre. But I don't want to feel like my kids are living in a world that is so flawed that they can't have any hope.
Oh, so you want to talk about hope, Bo? Obama ran on hope.
That's true. During the 8 years of Obama in the White House, he definitely was running on hope. But Anthony, brother, let's be honest. I mean, during those 8 years of Obama in the White House, how much of that hope helped our people as a collective? Did it make our problems and situations better, or did it make it worse? Because quite honestly, the only thing the Obama administration really did for the most part was make it to where our problems, our plights, and issues as a people were become totally interconnected with the same problems, plights, and issues of the LGBTQA plus and women, aka feminists, aka feminazis, plus other demographics altogether. To the point where, honestly, it got to the point where pretty much gay became the new black. That's what pretty much the whole administration came down to, bro.
Remember when he got elected? And we felt like maybe, just maybe, we got out of that bad place and made it to a good place. That the whole country was really ready to turn the corner. You remember that amazing feeling we had during the inauguration? I was sitting right next to you. And we were so proud. And we saw him get out of that limo and walk alongside of it and wave to that crowd. Tell me you weren't terrified when you saw that. Tell me you weren't worried that someone was going to snatch that hope away from us like they always do. That is the real world, Bo. And our children need to know that that's the world that they live in. Come on, let's finish watching it. Let's see what they're going to say next.
All right, that's pretty much it for that scene right there. But pretty much, yes. Um, Dre is definitely correct in regards to, yes, you have to, as a parent, teach your children about the real world and what it's really like, as opposed to what they see on television or even know about in the school system. That's definitely true. Now, but another thing too, in regards to, you know, Obama, in regard when it comes to that hope being snatched away from us, as he phrased it, we have to understand people like Obama and many of these supposed black leaders of ours that we had back then, and even to this day, currently present, they're nothing more than pawns, man. They're puppets that's been set up and being dangled in our face by these white liberals, right? The very same white liberals that Malcolm X correctly um, described as the fox, all right? Because you have to understand about the white liberal is that they'll make you believe that they're obviously that they're your friends, they're your allies, and that for the most part, they're for you, right? They're for you. They know what they, in their mind, they know what's best for you, and that you should just follow suit. Well, we've been taking that advice for the past 60 plus years, and look where it's gotten us. Our conditions haven't really changed for the better. Things are still pretty much getting worse. We're honestly still like in a destitute state because of the policies that they established to the point where they destroyed the black family under LBJ and the Great Society Act, really the war on poverty. So, so, and it's amazing too. You hear this again from our people talking about how the system is rigged against us, which which is definitely true, which is true, especially back then, and in some cases today again, especially with, for example, illegal immigration on the part of Democrats, where they're looking to replace us with them. But at the same time, man, if you feel that way, which many of us, honestly, I believe many of us do, why you still keep hoping for a society, for a system that, for the most part, is not going to change? All right, you have to understand all the laws and bills that have been passed following the civil rights movement have already been in place. It's up to our people now to take it from there. It's up to us to analyze the problems that we have, and to come up with real time solutions instead of just looking for tokenism, and personal handouts. Because by doing so, it it creates a negative image of us as a people who simply cannot get by on our own, but have to look to others in order to substantiate us, to uplift us. Right? It's basically the equivalent of a child pretty much having their parent hold their hand, and that's not a good look for us, man. But again, so it's not. But going back um, to what I stated before, the reason why um, Anthony Anderson expressed himself the way he did in this scene is because there was another video before doing this one that I saw where he explained the reason why Blackish did this episode, and it was because he admitted that in the past he himself was a victim of police brutality. All right, so I can definitely understand and empathize with the brother on that level because of that. I don't know the particular details of what happened with him in regards to that, but I can understand and respect how and why he, expressed himself the way he did. So I hope he had some level of closure in regards to that, and that he's able to still continue finding success. So more power to him on that. And so with that stated, that's it for that. But one more thing too about Obama too. With you have to understand, Barack Obama, despite the fact that he may look like us, he's not of us. He's not from the bloodline that we are. All right, he's not a descendant of the blacks of the diaspora, or from the blacks who came from Europe, or even so-called blacks who were here in America almost 3,000 years ago, way before Columbus did. No, Barack Obama is a descendant of the Kenyans through his father, who are Hamites, and from his mother's side, through her grandfather, there is Jewish Amalekite lineage. So that those two right there, those two lineages have definitely been our people's thorn and their side have been a thorn in our side and have been in our throats for years, for a very long time. So yeah, those two are definitely not our allies. They're definitely enemies of us, especially Amalekite or Amalek, as we know today, are the Jewish people who claim to be us, but are not, but are the synagogues of Satan, spoken of Christ in Revelations 2 and 9. All right, so I just definitely wanted to point that out because you have to stop looking for people who may look like you and who are not of your lineage. They are not going to help you. And even those of our people who are of the direct lineage, but are also not going to be able, who are not going to help you because they're sellouts for the most point. All right, so that's what it comes down to, man. You have to know who your true friends and allies are, who have the same mindset as you do, have the same goals and objectives that you do, and have the same solutions that you do. In regards to police brutality, the best way to handle that is for us to have our own police force. But first, we have to be able to establish a culture, establish trust amongst our people, and also the degenerates within our communities have to either be reformed or be eliminated. All right. I know it sounds extreme, but at this point, it is what it is. Desperate times calls for desperate measures. All right. But anyway, again, just wanted to point that out. Wanted to touch on this very pertinent scene right here, and I thought it was very eye-opening and very telling, especially in regards to Anthony Anderson's performance. So peace.